The Back on Track competition.
Yes, brilliant competition, that.
Brilliant competition. We had a very successful one on last week Friday, and Sunday. We had a lot of entrants. A lot of guys won some nice prizes: smartphones, tablets, sound bars, microwaves. So that was really, really interesting and
How
exciting.
long is that competition going on for?
It's gonna go on until the last race meeting of the month.
Okay. Welcome to another edition of In the Box Seat with myself, Warren Lenferner, and my good friend and producer, but this time he's on this side of the camera. His name is Tawanda Taruvinga. We're doing something different today for this edition. It's just Tawanda and I, and something different it is. How are you? And over to you.
How's it, Ryan? How are you?
Very good, thank you. Tawanda, all good, no complaints as we inch a little closer to Christmas.
Yes, exciting times. I'm just a little upset that we couldn't get Thabiso on the show, and he did send his apologies to the viewers and to the team that he couldn't make it because he is still recovering. So we can't expect him to be up and running.
Do you know, Tawanda, that everybody's schedule's hectic?
Yes.
Everyone has changes of plans as things go by. We've just got to be understanding, and we've also got to understand that Thabiso, as you say, is still injured. He's not as mobile as he wants to be.
Yes.
The intention was good that he was going to be our guest, but there's next time. This as we inch closer to Christmas. It's a busy time, it's a tough time, you've got to get transport into certain places, the roads are packed. So that's fine. Yes, we missed Thabiso, but he had to cancel and we had to cancel with him, and that's okay. There's a next time and we fully understand that.
100%. So today, Warren, I'm going to be interviewing you, right? I'm going to be asking you some questions.
I'm a bit worried about that.
Don't incriminate yourself. You can plead the Fifth Amendment.
That's right. I'll do absolutely. I heard Anton the other day when he was asked a question. He said he's going to plead the Fifth. That was a wonderful response.
When did he do that?
One of the interviews, Graham chatted to him about something, and I couldn't quite hear. And he said he was pleading the Fifth in that department.
He actually said that to me as well when I was at Summerfield. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a wonderful response. You might be getting a few of those today.
Yeah, so it's something, you just want to flip the script a little bit. And
just to interrupt you again, I think it is nice that we do something different because I'm always the one firing the questions and not answering the questions, and it's nice to have the roles reversed.
And I don't think you've ever been interviewed thoroughly and on air and have someone ask you some really interesting and intriguing questions. So, Warren, the first time I met you, obviously I was very shy. You mentioned that on one of the podcasts, actually the podcast with Raheel with Monty. But the first week I interacted with you in the office. You were very nice to me. You actually still are one of the nicest and most passionate people that I know. In fact, you are the most passionate person that I know when it comes to horse racing. And I always tell you that you're such a big influence, to a lot of people around you, to myself, to the team that I'm working with Kay, the guy who's behind the cameras right now, Devon. Your chirpiness, your personality is contagious, and it's very appealing.
Well, firstly, I thank you for the compliments, and it's completely unnecessary. But you started off by saying everybody, I'm nice to everybody, or I try and be nice to everybody. I cannot see the purpose of wanting to go out of one's way to be terrible and nasty to everybody. Because at the end of the day, I've learnt that everybody has feelings, everybody has issues, everybody has their own personal worries and stresses. The last thing that they need is a human being, some other human being, to come and attack them and be nasty to them and be terrible towards them. there's just no need for it. So I do try and go out of my way to be, yes, I have bad days.
Yeah.
I have grumpy days. I have days where I'm cross and I can be a little bit ratty.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I try not to attack people personally, because everybody's fighting their own battle. And I think we as a community have got to really be mindful of that before we take off at somebody, if it's something to do with work or to do with service. But yet again, there's ways of speaking to people, there's ways of bringing your point across, rather than personally attacking that person. And looking, the best saying I've ever heard, one of the best sayings I've ever heard, try and light somebody's candle rather than blow it out.
Yes.
And that's how I operate. That's how I like to try and operate. So yes, thank you for all those kind and wonderful words. But I find it far more enjoyable to be nice than rather to be unpleasant.
So Warren, how did it all begin for you? You always ask this question to your guests, and I want to get to. I know your story very briefly. You haven't actually told me exactly how it all began for you. Where did you grow up? I know you grew up in Stanger.
Yes.
How were you as a 10-year-old?
Very, very well behaved. Very goody two shoes. Didn't do much wrong, and just one of those. You always get that kid at school who's always well dressed and well mannered, and when everybody's going to go under the staircase to go and smoke cigarettes at break, I was in the library reading books and doing all that. I was, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but sometimes you regret maybe not having let your hair down. Pardon the pun, because I've got no hair to let down. But sometimes you regret in those younger, youthful days not jumping over the fence and running to the bottle store to go and with your mates after school when you're in after matric and doing all those naughty things.
Yes.
Because I was very, very, to answer your question, as a 10-year-old, a goody two shoes.
Yeah.
And I suppose and I used to get ripped apart for it at school. I used to get ripped apart for it. If there was projects that needed to be done, mine was handed in 2 days before, whereas everybody would hand theirs in 2 days later. So to answer your question, I was a goody boy, a goody two shoes at the age of 10.
Yeah, well,
when I was younger.
It's good because it made you the person that you are today. I mean, you are a good man. And then fast forward a couple of more years after that, what did you do after high school?
After high school, I went straight into, before I tell you what I did after high school, you asked the question, how did it all start for me? How did I get into racing? My late grandfather was quite a big racehorse owner many, many years ago. Yes, I was born in Durban, but raised in Stanger in the early days of my life, and then my family moved to Durban. My late grandfather was a fairly big racehorse owner. He had racehorses with David Payne and Herman Brown Sr., who I saw a picture of on Facebook the other day, 92 or 93, and still going strong.
Are you serious?
So he was a racehorse owner from that time.
So how many horses did your grandfather have?
In those days, he had about 35.
Wow.
Yep. So
that's a lot.
That's where it all started. And my father was also a racehorse owner, not as big as that, but a punter and a racing lover. So it's just been in the family for a long time. I grew up with the racing commentaries on the radio, East Coast Radio, or Radio Port Natal as it was called in those days.
Yes.
So the racing commentaries were always on. Trips to the tote were always there. Trips to the stables were always happening from a young age. And I suppose the bug bit from there, Tawanda.
What age was that? Like 12, 13, 10?
8, I would say. 8, 7, 8, 9, even as young as that. So from a very early age.
Do you still have your grandfather's colours?
I don't. I don't, but I've got a vague idea of what they were. Light blue and grey, I think they were.
Can you not use them for yourself?
To be quite frank with you, I haven't thought about it. We've got our own colours, my wife and I, but it could be something worth looking at.
I mean, it could be something sentimental.
Absolutely, absolutely. Then to jump back to the question where you said, what did I do after school? Straight after school, we couldn't afford for me to go to university, and it was just a moment in my life and in my parents' life that they couldn't send me to university, and we understand that. So I had to go and look for a job, and off I went to a hotel in the central Drakensberg called Champagne Sports Resort.
My father used to work there.
Okay. Well, of course, you're an escort boy, so you would know that area very well.
Yes.
And I was there for a week looking for a job, and they then hired me as a sports coordinator.
So how did you end up all the way in the Midlands of KZN?
Because one of my other uncles is a lifetime member or a man who's invested in Champagne Sports Resort in timeshare in a big way.
Yes.
And he was actively involved there, and he said to me, well, why don't you come up here, there's a job going for sports coordinator, and come and see what it's like. So that's how I got involved there.
Seems like your family had a lot of business acumen.
Yes, I'm blessed to have a huge family. My dad had 10 brothers and 2 sisters.
Yes.
And my mom had a brother, and she still has a sister. So the family is big and very supportive, typical Mauritian family.
Yes.
And yeah, we back one another and we support one another. And yes, I've been lucky. I don't know what happened to me, because a lot of my family are high-end businessmen.
Yes.
And businesswomen, and I'm not. But
when's your birthday?
27th of December.
What's your star sign?
Capricorn.
Capricorn. Okay.
So
do you know that Capricorns, you can tell them by their ears?
Very big ears, like their hearts.
Yeah. Carry on.
But how can you tell by the ears?
I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to sound like a buffoon who knows. Who just gonna? I don't want to say wrong things about zodiac signs and astrology. But there was a guy I was watching a video of on YouTube who is this person. He's an astrologist, and he can tell you your past just by asking your birthday and looking at your eyes and looking at your ears and your facial features, and tell you what star sign you are. Okay. I'm very interested in astrology because it sort of gives you an idea of a person's personality and stuff like that. I
know that you were talking about one of our colleagues that works at the champagne and orange juice desk.
Yes.
And she also studies and likes astrology. Now, funnily enough, that's something that interests me zero.
Yeah.
And just shows how everybody's different.
Yes.
Your interests and your likes and dislikes are completely different to mine.
Yes.
And astrology, that's another ball game altogether. But
anyway, we digress.
But going back to Champagne Sports, that was my first job as a sports coordinator.
So what did that entail?
With the guests, socialising with the guests, playing tennis with them, organising hockey games, doing the bowls tournament, taking them to the golf course, driving them around the golf course, just being the sports coordinator. And 2 days into the job, the general manager called me, and I'm still friends with the general manager today, and sat me in the office and said, with no disrespect, I can see what you know about sports could be dangerous. So I said, you're quite right, I'm trying to learn, and I knew nothing about sports. I'm not sporty at all, nor my immediate family, my brother and sister and mother and father, far from sporty. So they then transferred me into the restaurant as the restaurant supervisor, and that's where I excelled. I did 12 years in food and beverage. I was the assistant food and beverage caterer, the duty manager, food and beverage, and that's where I excelled. I did that at 4 years at Champagne Sports Resort. I then did 4 years at the Riverside Hotel just down the road here in Durban. And then I did 4 years at the Oyster Box Hotel. And then after those 12 years in the hospitality trade, my passion for horse racing kept on nagging. I always owned horses when I worked in the hotel industry. I always had friends in horse racing.
And you were always involved, going to the tote and
absolutely,
bets,
always punting,
following,
always
watching races.
Absolutely.
And what would your colleagues say? Because
they were intrigued by the sport that I was, because they were all going to soccer games, cricket games, rugby, and talking about rugby, and I was only talking about horses.
And you'd always come to the race course and
yes, and from a young age. And my passion, I always dreamt of working in horse racing. I always dreamt of having a big involvement in horse racing. And that's basically how it all started for me, to be quite frank. I left the hotel industry to go and follow my dream, follow my passion, which was horse racing.
What happened to your grandfather's horses when he passed away?
He passed away tragically, did my grandfather. In fact, it was a terrible story. He was giving away my aunt at her wedding, and whilst walking her down the aisle, he had suffered a massive heart attack, and died halfway down the aisle at the church at my aunt's wedding. So that was tragic.
I'm so sorry to hear.
And my uncle, who was also very much involved in horse racing, unfortunately rolled his vehicle on the farm. We were sugarcane farmers out at in Stanger up the north coast, and had a massive car accident on the farm, and that's how we lost him. And they were both, funnily enough, loved racing. And what happened to all their horses? I think at that time, my mom and the family sold the horses, got rid of the horses, because they weren't really as interested in the game as they were.
Yes.
They are now, today, with my involvement. They certainly are now involved. But at the time, they just sold up all the horses and got rid of all the racing interests.
So, how did you then get involved with Gold Circle and working at the company? Because after your 12-year stint in the hospitality industry, you got involved in racing, correct?
Correct. I worked for a man by the name of Adam Kethro, who is still today a racehorse owner. He was a trainer. He was a trainer. He is now an owner, and a very, very successful businessman. Gary Rich at the time was his private trainer, and ex-jockey Lucian Africa was his jockey at the time. I knew Gary well, I knew Lucian well, and I ended up working for Adam. That was my first sort of introduction into racing and the working side of things.
Yes.
And we worked on the farm in Moy River. I did marketing for his free-range beef business.
Yes.
And I did a little bit of administration on his racing business. And that's how we got involved. That was my first real job. Then I did a stint at the South African Jockey Academy.
So Warren, I just want to get this straight. So you had met Gary Rich on course here through mingling with him, bumping into him, or...
Interesting story how I met Gary Rich. Probably, how old am I now? 43, probably 23 years ago. And we were sitting at Scottsville Racecourse, Hollywood Bet Scottsville. It was Scottsville at the time, it's now Hollywood Bet Scottsville. And my dream was to get, when you have the index of the race card or the computer form, the jockey index.
Yes.
My dream was to get every jockey in the jockey room to autograph that jockey index so I could have it framed and put up on my wall at home. And I bumped into a guy called Gary Malloy, who was a jockey for Gary Rich at the time.
Oh, wow.
Didn't know them from a bar of soap, and I said, "Excuse me, sir, please, could you take this to the jockey room and get them to sign it?" And it was Gary Rich and Gary Malloy that were instrumental in getting all the jockeys' autographs onto my jockey index for me.
Did they end up...
They went and got the jockey index all signed by the jockeys for me, and I had that framed. And if you ask me where is that document, that frame today, and all the times I've moved from house to house, sadly I've lost it, which is a great tragedy. And that's how I met Gary Rich. And from then, at that time, after that, my uncle and aunt had a horse and training with him, and since then we've been friends for 20 odd years.
I'm sure that would have been worth quite some money.
Absolutely, because sadly some of the jockeys that had signed that are no longer in the game, whether it's due to death or retirement.
Which jockeys had signed?
You go the Whites. There was the Gordon White, I think it was. Just one name that comes to mind. That's sadly not with us anymore. He signed that document or that page, and there's a couple of jockeys that have retired since. The names escape me for now, Tawanda, but that was a very special moment, and that was one of the biggest stepping stones to getting to meet people in horse racing.
Wow. Like 23 years ago, I'm sure Hollywood Bet Scottsville was buzzing at the time, and racing was popular, and the vibe was different.
Yeah, it certainly was. And it's still, and I don't want to knock it today, and I'll never will knock it. Yes, we know that the crowds aren't on course as they were like in those days. But even still in those days, 23 years ago, you see pictures of the olden days where the grandstands from the fence up to the wall of the grandstand are just packed. In my racing days 23 years ago, it wasn't like that. It wasn't as busy as that. It was busier than what it was today. That's the point I'm making. But the vibe was always good. For me, it could just be me on course, and the vibe will be great at the races because I'm only happy when I'm here at the race course. What
fascinates me is that you said that you used to travel to to the training centers to meet the owners and meet your grandfather's horses and go to the totes and go to the race course. So you are probably seen by these trainers and these jockeys often on course, you know, and maybe you'd mingle with them through your grandfather. That means that you've been in this industry for a very, very long time, and you've bumped shoulders with some of the great trainers that have ever lived. You know, the Paynes, the David Paynes, and all of those people. It's really, really fascinating to me how long you've been in the industry. That's something that I never knew, that you'd go to the training centers at the age of 8. That's mental.
Another little memory that it just shows you how amazing life is. When you are a youngster and you pick up the race card and you think to yourself, well, and I'm just using these names now because they're relevant to today's racing. You look at the race card and you think, Corinne Bestel, she's a trainer. How nice it would be to meet her one day. I know her personally. I'm not getting clever. The point I'm making is the growth that you look at the racing. I used to from the young days look at all these racing people and look at them as like you would look at a soccer player or a rugby player or a cricketer and think, wow, I'd love to meet Sia Kolisi one day.
Yes.
You know, I would say I would love to meet Duncan Howells one day.
Yes.
I would love to meet Michael Roberts one day.
Yes.
I'd love to meet Gavin Van Zyl one day. And I have now met Gavin Van Zyl, and I have met the great Michael Roberts,
yes.
and I'm good friends with Duncan Howells.
Do you remember the first? I'm so sorry. You carry on. I keep
no.
you
So the point I'm making is, yes, when I look at those days to these days, I'm very blessed, and you just never know what the future is. Whoever wants to one day meet Sia Kolisi, well, it can happen. If whoever's watching and their dream and their desire is to meet Sia Kolisi, or their dream or their desire is to meet Michael Roberts, you never know what can happen in the future. Make the dream work. Make the dream happen.
Yeah, it's possible. And one thing that is a little sad is how easily accessible the jockeys and the trainers are. Do you know what I mean? One can go to the Summerfield or Ashburton training centers and just go and mingle and say, hi, Mr. Howells, hi, Mr. Marcus. You know, I love your work. You know, what can we expect this weekend? Do you know what I mean? Or even bumping into them here at the race course. It saddens me how easily accessible and how not celebrated they are as sportsmen and as, you know, these master tacticians of the sport of horse racing. Yes. And strategists. You know, these are trainers, these are jockeys, these guys risk their lives for us, and it saddens me that we don't, you know, praise them as much as they should be. Like, I mean, Michael Roberts, he's a man of great achievement.
I agree with you that he is a man of great achievement, and I agree with your comment.
And I still don't think that he has been celebrated as much as he's supposed to. That guy needs a statue at Hollywood Bets Gravel Racecourse or Scottsville Racecourse.
Yes.
He needs a statue. He needs to be like, we need a Hall of Fame here at Hollywood Bets Gravel Racecourse.
There is one at Scottsville, Hollywood Bets Scottsville, and you're right, we could get to one at Hollywood Bets Gravel. It would be fantastic because they do need to be heralded. But what frightens me in this world that we're living in today is that the moment you praise and you herald somebody, if you say, there's Michael Roberts, wow, he was a great rider. There's Corinne Bestel, she comes from a great horse family. Her mother was a top trainer. She is a current top trainer, good trainer. Wow, Corinne Bestel. There's Anton Marcus. He's a champion rider. He rode so well. You get labelled as, what's the word I'm looking for? As brown nosing.
Yes.
And that irritates me a little bit, because it's not brown nosing. It's giving the people the recognition that they need.
Deserve.
Because we need to grow the sport. We need to boost the sport. Yes. We need to boost its people.
Because sorry to cut you off, Warren. Because us taking them lightly decreases their confidence. Yeah. And decreases their performance, and then decreases the value of the industry. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because if we take them for granted, again, you know, when you spoke with Monty Roberts, we had this conversation after the podcast. One thing that I found that was remarkable from the things that he said was how he said what he said about not taking the sport for granted.
Yes.
And respecting it, and dressing well when you go to the races, appreciating being in the parade ring. Don't disrespect the game. We need to respect the game, respect the people in it, because that increases the value of the sport.
Yes.
These guys are going to walk out the shoot feeling confident in themselves, feeling excited to race, feeling like they want to celebrate every win and jump off horses like Frankie Dettori, throw their caps at the crowd. Do you know what I mean? They look up, they look forward to it, going to the races. And if we don't get excited for the sport, people, even the fans will lose interest. So
you're 100% right. But also on the other side of the coin, sometimes in any sport, as I said at the top of this podcast, you're going to get the haters and you're going to get the criticizers. So you'll probably find that along the way, some of the role players might become reserved in their shell because they've probably taken a lot of public abuse.
Yes.
Which, again, I think is wrong.
Yes.
You make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. If you're playing rugby, you might pass the ball wrong. If you're kicking for goals, you might miss the goal. Everybody makes mistakes. And you say, well, how was that rugby player? He made a complete botch of that try, or he made a complete botch of whatever it is.
Yes.
So you get that criticism. But you'll also get that in horse racing. But I think it's sometimes people take it to another level.
Yes.
So instead of the role players coming out of their shell and reaching out to the public, they're so nervous of having their heads cut off that they retract.
Yes.
And which is a bad thing. That's the point, because I think we do need to reach out to everybody. I try and talk to as many people on course as I can. But sometimes there's days where I'd feel I don't want to get out of the studio because you get insulted about your bad tips. You stuttered twice, you said this wrong, and it's not pleasant.
Yes.
So, yeah, I agree with you that we should, because it's the way to make the sport grow, and it's the way to make individual people as individual humans, irrespective of what their job description is, irrespective of their race, irrespective of all that,
Yes.
and their beliefs. Everybody's a human being, and everybody deserves to grow and flourish and blossom, and it's up to all of us to feel that, if you know what I'm saying.
What I think is that for our sports people in the industry, the jockeys and the trainers, it's inevitable for them to get bad or negative comments, and just like any other sports people, rugby players, basketball players, soccer players, those guys get taught, by the sports scientists and psychologists to on social media to not read the comments.
Yes.
You never read the comments because like a guy like Joe Rogan, the best podcaster in the world, he says it himself that he wasn't taught by anyone, but he just says, I never read the comments, and I tell my guests on my podcast never to read the comments, because that the one person is going to say some nonsensical thing, which is
that word, nonsensical.
which is untrue or just like madness. So even the sports, the basketball players and the soccer guys get taught how to. The guys will throw negative remarks. Oh, you're such a bad football player, and throw bananas at you. But they get taught how to channel the energy in the right direction and forget about anything else, and even I think also that's one of the reasons, like you just said, one of the reasons why some of our jockeys and trainers choose to shut off or choose not to communicate with the public. And ignore them when they're walking through the parade ring and the guys are, hey, Warren, what do you think? You just keep your head forward, move forward, because you don't know what this guy's going to do. He might just say something negative. You just keep your head forward, and you look forward, and you just do what you have to do, ride that horse. I've had instances where some jockeys don't want to talk to me before a race. Like, what's this guy's name? Luke Ferraris. I was amazed and I was excited. I was like, this is so good. He said to me, I tried to ask him a question. He was just about to ride Rainbow Bridge, and then he said, I'm so sorry. He didn't smile. He didn't even make eye contact with me. He was just looking down. He was playing the race in his head, and he said to me, I'm so sorry. I asked him a question. He ignored me. I forgot if I thought to myself, oh, this guy is such a douchebag. I forgot if I thought that or said that to myself. And then after the race, he came to me and said, hey, T, I'm so sorry, man. I think he won the race even. He said, I'm so sorry, brother. I was just focused. I don't like talking to anyone before my races. I was just focused. I was playing the race in my head. I was thinking about Mr. Sands and everything. I was thinking about the horse. It's a big moment for me. And I appreciated that.
Yes, we've got to respect that.
I loved it.
That, yeah.
Because it shows good sportsmanship. It shows hard work. It shows a good frame of mind. It shows that these guys are just like Cristiano Ronaldo. They play races in their minds. They focus.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? I was excited, man. Yeah. You know, I was telling this other person the other day. What was I telling? I forgot who I was talking to, but I was talking to some person, and we spoke about Rachel Venica, about how I had a podcast with her. I had a conversation with her, and she said, these guys bully me sometimes. They bully me and they treat me badly because I'm a girl. And I was like, that's good. But not because I want them to treat you badly, but because now you need to work harder. Yes. It's competitiveness. Now you're going to have a little bit of, a chip on your shoulder. And that's good for the game. It's exciting, because if you come up on top and you keep winning races, it's going to be like, wow. Just like how Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton came out.
And she's certainly, Rachel is making a statement, and she's riding so well, and she's holding her own.
Yes.
So no doubt that she would have worked on that, and the results are showing.
Yes.
I can see from Rachel that she's a lady that takes no nonsense.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
It's good. It's good that that she does that. So Warren, so let's talk about now when you started working for, let's carry on with your journey. I want us to, hopefully if you have time, maybe get to how things are going now. So you said that you were at the academy, you got a job at the academy. What was your role there?
At the academy, I was admin manager to the riding masters. All the paperwork, all the administration work, jockey's agent to help them get rides, etc. And we worked with a fabulous team. Then, to speed it up,
Do you know some of the jockeys that were in that in your stint there?
We had Tristan Godden, who interviewed the other day. Tristan Godden, Diego Digavea, Serena Woodley. They were all part of it. Craig Zaki,
Donovan
Dillon.
All the cool guys.
Fabulous human beings. Absolutely fabulous human beings who are still part of our lives today.
Yes.
My wife and I, my family's lives today. And just wonderful to see them have grown. They've all got, most of them have got their own children.
Cars,
houses, children, riding winners, marriage.
While we're still speaking about their marriages and families, I was with Donovan Dillon and his wife Taylor at their house. And I was astonished to find out that Keegan DeMiller's got a new baby coming on the way. Yes. And he's building a house, I think, in Hillcrest.
Yes.
As young as he is.
Absolutely.
He's building a house. And Taylor said to me that he is very smart when it comes to money and budgeting. And I was like, wow, he should be an example to the other up and coming jockeys.
He's a good lad, is Keegan. He comes from a good family, and he has a good family, and nice to see them doing well for themselves. But to speed it up, so at the Jockey Academy, then I left the Jockey Academy and transferred straight here to Gold Circle, which was about 7 years ago. Started on the 6th of January, 7 years ago.
Yes.
There was a position in the media centre to work alongside Andrew Harrison, and the rest is history. I've started at Gold Circle. We do all the media work. We work the race card. We do the Race Goer publication. We help with the social media. We do the podcasts. We do the TV presenting, and it's just grown and got bigger and better.
Yes.
And I'm truly indebted to Gold Circle. I love being part of the Gold Circle family, and we are here now to today.
And now you've got horses of your own, multiple.
We do have horses, shares of horses, my wife and I.
Yes.
Very blessed, very lucky to have a shares in a few horses.
And your horses actually run very well. Like Cold Hard Cash is a good horse.
We've been very successful, Tawanda. We've had Cold Hard Cash, who's won 5 for us. We've had Marsan, who's won 4 for us. Chief Executive is 1-1.
And you've got one that ran second in Joburg the other day. We were
Correct.
watching with Kay.
She's running on Sunday here at Hollywood Bet Scottsville.
On Sunday.
Her name is Ode to the Ocean. She ran second on debut. We've got kittens.
What are you expecting? Sorry.
I think she'll be very hard to beat.
I think she might just cross the finishing line first.
I think so too.
When I watched that race, we were at the finishing post.
Yes.
She ran very well. She was beat like what, half a length?
Yeah, she a little bit more than half a length. It was about a length and a bit.
Yeah.
But it was an excellent run. The horse that beat her, I think, is a very good horse. She is also a very good horse. So yeah, she runs on Sunday, and we hope that she can win. The only concern for me is that she has to travel from Gauteng down to KZN.
Yes.
And the rest don't have to do that. But that's my only concern. But I think she's good enough to win. Yeah.
You know, I think Warren, you've got a good eye for good horses. You know,
I don't know about that.
No, I think you might have a skill that maybe you haven't honed properly, because looking at Cold Hard Cash and Marsan, 5 races out of.
Marsan, she was Cold Hard Cash was 5 out of about. The number I can't give you the exact number. I'd be lying, but about 27.
But 5 races, winning 5 races. Isn't that like above average?
In today's day, you know, to try and get a horse that can win a race or win 2 or 3 races, for me, the way I look at it is from an owner's perspective. If my horse can win a race, I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Because to win races is very difficult.
Yeah.
So if you get a horse that can win a race or win 2 races or even 3 races, then you're doing well.
Yeah.
So the fact that, yes, Cold Hard Cash is a 5-time winner, we overwhelmed.
That's not bad.
The fact that Marsan was a 4-time winner, we overwhelmed. And these horses, when they run, because Marsan's now gone to stud, but Cold Hard Cash still runs. He ran last the other day. Somebody said to me, am I disappointed? Yes, of course you're disappointed. You don't want to see your horses underperforming. But he owes us nothing. He's a 5-time winner. He's won multiple places, and we love him. So he owes us nothing. He's got nothing to prove.
I think you should invest more in buying horses, because maybe you could be, you could be the next great.
No. You need the firepower. You need the cash. You need the cold hard.
You need
cash
the cold hard cash. But you start
it's
small. No one.
We have started small. Funnily enough, I said to my wife just last night, we have started small and we're growing small to medium quite quickly.
Yeah.
And we need to just take our foot off the accelerator a bit, because you don't want it to become a financial burden.
Yeah. 100%. And how many horses do you have in training right now?
We've got shares in 10.
10?
Yeah, shares in
Same
10.
colours?
No, all mixed colours. We race with partners. We race, I think 3 of them are racing our colours.
Yeah.
The white and the blue.
Yes.
As Ode to the Ocean will run in our colours on the weekend, thanks to Paul Peter and his family. But all mixed colours. Cold Hard Cash runs in Warren Geysen's colours, one of our partners. So all mixed, but little shares and 10 horses.
Who's going to be riding? Is it Over the Ocean?
Ode to the Ocean.
Ode to the Ocean.
Warren Kennedy rides Ode to the Ocean on Sunday. Then we've also got Kitten's Adventure, who runs on Sunday for Gary Rich. She's already won. She won in her second start. And Cole Dickens going to ride her. Chief Executive runs as well on Sunday in the last race, and Serena Mudley's going to ride her. So it's going to be an exciting weekend for us.
Warren, let me just see how much time do we have here
Not
with
too
you.
much, because we've got TV shows to go and record, so fire away a few more questions.
So can we wrap up at 10:30 in the next
Absolutely,
12
the next
minutes?
10, 12 minutes, absolutely.
And then now you're doing TV. You're a big star. You're a big celebrity in the.
No, I don't want to accept that. I'm just a normal human being.
How many people have walked up to you and say, Warren, I'm one of your fans. You're doing a great job. I love your work.
As I said at the top of this interview, it seems like people don't like to do that. They'd rather go to a person and tell them how bad they are. And as I said, that really irks me, because yes, everybody's got faults, everybody's got failings, but those faults and failings can be fixed in a very pleasant manner.
Yes.
But yes, I have had a couple of people that come up and say, not only to me, to the whole team, because it's not only me that make the GTV team. There's Graham Hawkins, there's Dees Dynant, there's Devon Govender, there's Paul Lafferty, there's
Raheel,
Tawanda,
Tawanda.
there's Tawanda Taruvinga. It's a whole big team. team, and everybody plays an important role. So yes, we have had people come up to us and say, "Thanks, guys," and that was a good interview, and that was good information. That was well tipped. That was badly tipped. So yes, we have had a couple of people come up and thank us and greet us, but we've also had a couple of people that have come up and insulted us.
Yeah.
That's part of the game.
It's part of the game. It's inevitable.
That's the part of the game that I'm trying so hard to change.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. So now, how did you get into TV? Because being a racing analyst, you've got the personality for it. So I'm not surprised why. I think Graham suggested that you try it out.
Yes.
But again, I don't know the full story.
Many years ago, when I worked for Winning Form, there's another little segment that we've missed out, and we're never going to be able to clear up every single segment of my life because we just haven't got the time. But I had a 4-year stint with Winning. Everything is 4 years.
4 years, right?
And I'm glad that it seems my time at Gold Circle's gone way past the 4-year mark, which I'm thrilled about.
Yes.
I hope it goes on for 44 years.
Yes.
But I was at Winning Form in Hollywood for 4 years racing and working with the great Matthew Lips, who's now a handicapper in Stipe. And while I was at Winning Form, Paul Lafferty was presenting the one day, and he said to me, well, come on TV with me and share with you, your tips and your selections and what you fancy. And I used to do that on a very regular basis. And after the 4th or 5th time that I did 1 or 2 races with Paul Lafferty, I thought to myself, wow, this is quite nice, and I could take this further. And I did.
So Paul was doing TV stuff for Gold Circle at Hollywood Best Gravel.
Yes.
At the studio.
And for Teddy Track in those days, years ago.
So
presenting for
which studio were they using?
We were using at the old Clarewood studio. There was a studio at Clarewood, the hut or the sheltered area in the middle of the parade ring here at Hollywood Best Gravel. That's where he would work from.
And then he'd invite you over here.
Correct. Say, come on. I would be at the races. He would say, come on and do a race with me.
And obviously he knew you personally.
Absolutely. I've known Paul for many years, yes.
Okay. And then was it him who said, wow, this guy's talented?
No, it wasn't him really. It just materialized from there and got I was asked to do host a few MC, be an MC at a couple of functions, Hollywood Bets at their Vodacom Durban July yearly function, and it just spiraled from there. And I put more effort into it, investigated, sent CVs, sent video clips, and it just took off from there really. I would say, yes, people along the way helped me.
Yes.
Paul Lafferty, Graham Hawkins, Martin Locke, they were all instrumental.
Yes.
But I was the driving force. That's what I've decided that I wanted to do.
Yes. Because, I've seen you. I think when I arrived in 2014. Not 2014, 2018. 2014. When I arrived, you were not as good as what you are now with TV and presenting, and now you just flow.
It's all about confidence, Tawanda. It's all about getting the chances. It's all about confidence. It's all about growing. It's all about practicing. The more you do it, the more you practice. Look at Rahil Radhakrishna. Quiet, introverted person, and he's got the knowledge, he's got the talent, he's learning, he's coming out of his shell, and the more he does it, the easier he gets. His next step is going to be post-race interviews. He's not quite ready to do that yet, confidence-wise, but he's getting there. It's with everybody, with every sportsman. The more you do it, the more you practice, the easier it becomes. And I think if you've got the love and the passion and the burning desire, you can make it work. There's no doubt about it.
And a lot of people praise you for your post-race interviews. Your style is very casual, very light-hearted, very conversational.
Some people don't like that. Some people want the seriousness. Some people want... Everyone's different. The point I'm making, every presenter is different. Some people are serious and to the point. Some people are a bit more relaxed and light-hearted. I'm a bit more relaxed and light-hearted. I want the jockey and trainer and owner to feel comfortable, to feel... how many owners I've had to pull into the winner's enclosure because they're petrified of the camera, they're petrified of being spoken to on TV. What are you going to ask me? And I've just said, come on, let's have a conversation, relax and enjoy it. Kelly and Darren Hannard the other day didn't want to come and talk, and I said, I would guarantee you it'll be an enjoyable experience. They came on, I interviewed them, they loved it.
Yes.
You want the owner to enjoy the experience because he and she are the ones that are paying the bills. I've been criticized before about making, brown-nosing too much with the owner. I don't think you can, it's not brown-nosing. For me, it's a genuine gratefulness to the owner and getting them to talk on TV, getting them recognized, getting them thanked and getting them applauded. Because yes, everybody plays a role in horse racing, but we also need the owner.
Yes.
And he needs to enjoy his moment in the sun. He or she needs to enjoy their moment in the sun.
Yeah.
So yes, I try and make it light-hearted. I try and make it like a conversation because I'm aware of the fact that a lot of people are scared to talk on camera. So I try and make it as easier and as more relaxed for them in a professional way as possible as I can.
Yeah. They say that people are afraid of guns when people are afraid of guns on their head. Wait until you place a camera in front of their face. It's mental. Yeah, that's quite interesting, Warren. It's very, very interesting to hear your story. And who do you look up to in life in general?
That's a good question. In horse racing, let me give it to you. In horse racing, who I look up to in horse racing, and who I look up to in life. And sure, we heard Graham Bailey, who was the headmaster of the South African Jockey Academy the other day, deliver a fabulous speech at their prize giving, and he's an emotional man.
Yeah.
And he was
Is
proud.
he?
Very. And he was proud to announce that to everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do the same because I'm an emotional man, and I'm proud to announce that because whether you're a man or a woman, we have emotions.
Yeah,
and
we
it's
do.
okay for men to cry.
Yeah.
Some people feel it's not. I'm a big
It is.
crier.
It is.
I'm an emotional person. But the point I'm making is I hope not to get too emotional because there's two people that I look up to. One in the professional and in the horse racing industry is Graham Hawkins.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it because I want to brown nose.
Brown nose.
I want
You've
to
used
say
that
it
term a
because-
lot today.
I know because I get told that there's too much brown nosing, and I disagree. It's not brown nosing.
Yeah.
It's giving the credit where credit is due. Because Graham Hawkins has taught me what I know, the little that I know, because there's a lot more that I need to learn. But he's always been there to guide me and say, "Don't say that. Say this. Do this. Forget about that." So. And his nickname's Mr. Racing. He's not Mr. Racing for nothing. He knows every aspect of horse racing. He's devoted his whole life to horse racing. So in the industry, Graham Hawkins, one of the many, but I can't list every person that I work closely with and each person that I respect with.
Yeah.
But he's at the top of my list or near the top of my list.
Yeah.
So in horse racing, Graham Hawkins, because I would like to one day have his knowledge and achieve what he's achieved in horse racing. And on a personal capacity, as mushy and as cushy as it may sound, and no, I'm not looking for brownie points because I don't need to earn any brownie points with my wife, but I look up to her because for me she's a phenomenal businesswoman. She's an entrepreneur and she takes nonsense from nobody. I was going to use another word, but I better not. She takes nonsense from nobody, and she's a hard worker. She's up at 6 o'clock in the morning and she goes to bed at 11:15 at night, and she works hard. And I one day want to achieve what she achieves and have work ethics like she has. So from a business perspective, from a career perspective, I look up to Graham Hawkins. From a personal perspective, I look up to my wife.
Yeah, your wife is a very hard worker. She works so
She
hard.
works on my nerves as well. But, that's just a joke. But she does work on my nerves,
Yeah.
and I work on her nerves. But that's for another day when we talk about marriage.
Oh, that's marriage. I was thinking this morning because I think I'm a hard worker as well. I think I work very hard, and not to be selfish. It's not about me. I'm talking about Candice. I think she works so hard. So this morning I was thinking about, do we still have time?
I'm just letting the TV department team know that we are running a little bit late. So, yeah.
So anyway, I was thinking about how hard I work. Sometimes you get frustrated with the results that you're not getting, and things things will inevitably go wrong. Not go wrong, but not go 100% your way, you know. And it's always good not to sweat the small stuff, because once that will spiral into big stuff. All these small things that, you know, that one might sweat or stress over can ruin your whole day, and then you end up having a habit of every Monday or every Tuesday things are not going your way, and then it can end up being a whole week. A week turns into a month, and next thing you know it, you're a very, very miserable person. Do you know what I mean? And it all started with you snapping over I don't know, a cold cup of coffee, right?
But
so
also, just to interrupt you for a second there, I'm a very sensitive person.
Yes.
I take things, I mean, I hate to see people hurt.
Yeah.
I hate to see people stranded or upset. And I take things very personally, which Graham Hawkins and Raf Sheikh and many people that I look up to in the industry that have helped me have said to me, I have to stop taking things personally. But it's hard, because sometimes it's hard to not take things personally.
Maybe it's because you're a Capricorn.
It could be, and I have big ears, as you said earlier.
You don't have big ears, you have distinct ears.
Distinct ears. Okay.
Listen, my ears are not small either.
There's nothing wrong with your ears, Dumbo. I mean, but anyway, get back to your point. Sorry, I was...
So, the point I was trying to make is that, I was thinking about, I was thinking to myself, you know what, no one works as hard as me. You know, I work really hard. Like last night I left the office at 12 o'clock. I had to be here at 6:30 to set up for the podcast, and I love that. I don't complain. I love the challenges that come with being an entrepreneur. And then I thought to myself, Candice works harder than you. Tony Riverland works harder than you. You know, there's people who so for me to complain it's nonsensical, because first of all, before you start, I chose this life. As an entrepreneur, you can't complain for choosing the life that you chose. You raised your hand up to be an entrepreneur. You can't be scared. You can't complain. You're going to be lonely, but you can't complain about that. No one is going to tell you you're doing a good job, but you can't complain for that, because it's part of it. It's part of the thrill of the chase.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's part of the uncertainty. It's part of like what I told you about Rachel Veneker. That same story of her saying, "These guys are bullying me." It's good. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's part of Luke Ferraris being zoned in. It's part of the game.
Before I forget, going back to talking about brilliant presenters and the team, you know, of course, his name escaped my mind for that moment, but it's come back into my mind now. Sheldon Peters is another one.
Yes.
Phenomenal presenter and a phenomenal tipster.
Yeah.
But yes, just going back to you say you worked very hard. Absolutely, you do. Each and every for me, life's not a competition.
Yes.
My job's not a competition.
Yes.
I have no desire to go and outshine Rahil Radhakrishna. I have no desire to try and tip more winners than Sheldon Peters. I have no desire to be better than Dee's Dinant. And again, I'm just using names. I'm not listing the whole team.
Yes.
I just want to do the best that I can, because my best and Dee's Dinant's best could be two different bests. And that's what I want to do. Yes, I work hard too, but for me, I don't want to compete with Tony Riverland. I don't want to work harder than Tony. If you understand the example I'm giving you, and the advice I want to give you is, it's good that you work hard, and it's good that you think that you work damn hard, because you probably do. But each and every person has their own missions, has their own talents, has their own goals, and don't think, the point I'm making is what I used to think, well, I want to be like so-and-so. I don't want to be like so-and-so. I want to be like myself.
Yes.
I want to be my own special self. And maybe I'll succeed one day at that, maybe I won't. But hard work never killed anybody, and you do a fabulous job too, you and your team. And it's tough, because you're a young entrepreneur. You want to achieve, you want to make money, you want your team to achieve, and sometimes it doesn't go your way. And you get cross. Us in general, you get cross, you get down. But the advice is just keep grinding away. Don't make it a competition.
Yes.
Just make sure that you and the people that are in your life can be the best you can be.
I fully agree with you. And for me, sorry, I was having a conversation with someone about a specific person who apparently tried to sue an organization in racing, right? I think it was the academy. So anyway, and I thought to myself, we have such a small industry, and the industry is declining in sort of new entrants, being new punters, new customers, and all of that, and we can't afford to sort of have that negativity.
Yes.
You can't be suing. It's already
dying
financially. Or you know what I mean. It's already in trouble,
Yes.
and you want to go now and add fuel into the fire. Just like the same thing that Monty was saying. We need to not take it for granted, but respect the industry.
Absolutely.
because a lot of lives are at stake here. We got people livelihood. Do you know what I mean? People are having food on the table. And going back to your point about competition, it's always good to have competition, but it doesn't mean that now I should cut you off or be rude to you or say I don't want you to have this because I want to do it.
Yes.
I don't want you to shoot that video because I want to do this video.
Yes.
Do you see what I mean?
There's enough cake for everybody.
There's enough cake for everyone, and again, the industry is small. Some of us don't know anything about horse racing. So if you're now going to put, fuel in another person's fire, what's that person going to do?
Absolutely.
We're supposed to be growing the industry instead of, trying to destroy it in any way. Now, Warren, I think we've had a very, very good conversation. In wrapping up, let's just talk about news.
And please feel free. Yes, we run out of time because the TV department are waiting, and that's fine. They've also got a schedule, but.
Yeah.
Please feel free. I know that we have guests and the viewers want to hear from our various racing guests.
Yes.
But I think it's important that every couple of months we find out more about yourself, more about Andrew. Andrew Harrison's going to retire soon, but we don't know about him. We want to know about him. I mean, can you imagine the stories he has to tell about the racing industry and about how he started? And so the point I'm making is, in between the guests that we have, if you want to ever continue this conversation in the future, only a pleasure. I'm sure Andrew would, you would, anybody in our industry, you would like to, the staff behind the scenes.
Yes.
Only a pleasure. But we've run out of time.
Yes.
But you wanted to touch on some news quickly.
News. Well, news is, for me, the highlight of whatever's happening right now is the Back on Track competition.
Yes, brilliant competition, that.
Brilliant competition. We had a very successful one on last week Friday and Sunday. We had a lot of entrants. A lot of guys won some nice prizes: smartphones, tablets, sound bars, microwaves. So that was really, really interesting and exciting.
How long is that competition going on for?
It's going to go on until the last race meeting of the month.
Okay.
Which I think is the 28th, if I'm not mistaken. But I stand to be corrected. So, that competition, please, guys, you need to enter that competition. It's really, really interesting. There's really, really awesome prizes to be won. 45,000 rands worth of prizes that stand to be won by the entrants. And all you have to do is just take a selfie on course at either Hollywood Bets, Scottsville, or Greyville, and post it online using the hashtag Back on Track and tag Goal Circle.
Brilliant competition. You happy with the way it's gone so far?
I love it. I love the fact that we've had so many entrants and so many people coming on course, taking selfies with their families, with their kids, of their kids even. The guys even brought props just to make it fun. So that was really, really interesting. I saw one family had Christmas attire on, Christmas hats and stuff like that, and the other guy had a clown hat and bow tie. So it was really, really interesting, and we had lots of entrants. We put up the selfies on the big screen. So the guys just need to enter, come on course, and take part in hashtag Back on Track.
Two things before we wrap. Also part of the news, we wish Lyle Hurtson a speedy recovery.
Yes.
Terrible fall. He's in hospital in Hong Kong. And Lyle, we wish you all the very best, and we can't wait to see you back in action. And I've forgotten what the other thing was. So Lyle Hurtson, we wish him a speedy recovery, and that's a wrap from me, Tawanda. Oh yes, that's what it was, to actually thank everybody for coming to the race course, because although we restricted in our numbers, I think it's 2,000, the last couple of race meetings have really, really, really been well supported, and it's lovely to see people on the grandstand. So thanks to you, the punter and the racing lover and the racing enthusiast, for coming to our race courses and gracing us with your presence. So from all of us, thanks very much, and keep coming, please. We love it.
See you tomorrow as well. Tomorrow is Thursday, the 16th of December, public holiday, and we have a Hollywood Bets Gravel race meeting.
Yes, I'm rushing to go and do the TV show. Now
I can see your leg is literally waiting to just spring you up.
Spring up from one microphone to the next, but we love it. We would never change it.
Before we wrap up, please come to the race course tomorrow and take part in that hashtag Back on Track competition, so you can stand to win yourself awesome prizes. And in closing, Warren, can you just ask the guys to like this video, like our Facebook page, and subscribe to the channel? That's your camera over there.
They know the story. Like, absolutely. Like, follow, comment, do what you have to do. Subscribe to our channels, the Facebook channel, the YouTube channel, the racing reruns, the shows. I mean, it's a fabulous, fabulous platform to follow racing and all the different magazine shows. So yes, quite right, as Tawanda says, like, follow, subscribe, and keep in touch with us, because we would like to communicate with you. And I think the only the parting shot from my side is to thank you for the opportunity, and to thank the viewers and everybody for their opportunity. And my last bit of advice is just to try and I'm going to keep drumming on the same drum, is to rather in life try and light somebody's candle rather than blow it out. So that's all I have to say, and we wish you all the best.
The last thing you need to do is close it with your famous lines. But before that, can you please comment down below? Tell us, what do you think of Warren's story, and what do you think of his presenting, and just the person that he is? Because Warren does a lot of work, and you've gotten a lot of compliments with your presenting style, and your story right now is amazing. So tell us down below, what do you think of Warren Linferna's story and his presenting style when he does the post-race interview and everything else?
We're going to have to watch those comments, because guaranteed there'll be a few people on there saying fire him. But
no, don't worry about
that's a wrap from all of us. Thank you very much for your contribution, for your support, and thank you to Tawanda as well for his passion and his love and his drive. From all of us here at the In the Box Seat studios at Hollywood Bets Gravel, punt well, be safe, God bless, and as always, we'll see you in the number one box. You want to say it together on the count of 3? 1, 2, 3. And as always, we'll see you
in the number one box.
In the number one box. Good night, God bless, and goodbye.